I think everybody has to be an activist of nonviolence, one way or the other. I love what Romero said the day he was assassinated. If you go back and read his homily, it was in a church just like this. He said these words and he walked to the altar and he was killed, Archbishop Romero. He said, "Nobody can do everything, but everybody has to do something." Well, that was helpful. In other words, you don't have to get involved in everything, but you got to pick one issue, one cause. You have to have one foot involved, the global grassroots movement. And there's a million things, and there's a lot of good people here tonight. You know, is it the Utah group that's working on nuclear disarmament, with a comprehensive test ban treaty, and a non-proliferation treaty, just getting rid of nukes. We're working on one campaign to get rid of poverty and starvation. We'll work on universal health care. We'll work to end the war in Iraq, like so many of you have been doing. Bring all the troops home from Iraq, Afghanistan, and so forth. Now, pick one cause and get involved with it and stay with it and do it with a lot of love and peace. So we're going to practice contemplative and personal nonviolence, interpersonal nonviolence, creating communities of nonviolence, trying to get Salt Lake City and Utah to become a place of nonviolence, closing all your military bases, being activists in the movement. And at the same time we do that, we have to be, I'm just proposing for your reflection, prophets of nonviolence. By that I mean people who speak out. And I wrote this down because I can't remember it all. We need to stand up and say no to the culture of war and yes to the God of peace, like this. In the name of the God of peace, stop the war and occupation of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Bring our troops home now. Let the United Nations resolve the crisis nonviolently. Make massive reparations to Iraq. Don't bomb Iran. Seek nonviolent solutions and demilitarize the entire Middle East. End all U.S. military aid to Israel. In other words, stop the funding of the occupation of the Palestinians. And support nonviolent Israeli and Palestinian peacemakers, saying, we're not anti-Semitic, nor do we support suicide bombers. We want the Jewish vision of shalom. We want human rights for Palestinians. Welcome every immigrant to our country. Support the undocumented. Stop all U.S. military aid to Colombia. Close our terrorist training camps. We have about 140, like the School of the Americas in Georgia. Close our 750 massive military bases around the planet. I was just in Australia. In all of northern Australia, the entire Iraq war was organized out of Australia from our base. And while we're at it, close Los Alamos and Livermore Labs and Oak Ridge and Pantex. And then just close the Pentagon. The CIA, the NSA. Close them down. Leave the World Trade Organization. Lift the entire third world debt. House the world's homeless. Give free medicine to everybody on the planet. Abolish the death penalty. Undertake treaties for total nuclear disarmament, the CPT and the NPT. Join the World Court. Obey international law. Sign the Kyoto Accord. Find alternatives to fossil fuels. Stop global warming. End the Star Wars program. Cut the entire military budget, abolish every nuclear weapon, every weapon of mass destruction, and then take those billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars and feed every starving child and refugee on the planet this weekend. And when with the infinite money left over, educate every person on the planet in the methodology of nonviolence that we can begin to welcome a new world of peace. Our job stand up and say these things publicly. I'll put it in another way. We have to be visionaries of nonviolence. Do you ever study the abolitionists? These people were totally nuts. 200 years ago, they're like this. Excuse me, United States. We are announcing the abolition of slavery. And everybody said, what, are you crazy? Some people aren't people. It's in the Bible. They said, no. A new world of equality is coming. They lifted up this vision and gave their lives away. You and I are their ancestors, their heirs. And in this moment, understanding the methodologies and spirituality of nonviolence, from Gandhi and King and Dorothy Day back to Jesus and Buddha and all our teachers, we're going to stand up in Salt Lake City and say, excuse me, United States, we are announcing the abolition of war itself, and poverty and hunger and executions and nuclear weapons and global warming and every form of violence. And everywhere I go, people say, well, you're just plain nuts. And I say, no, that's our future. The future is a new world of peace, and it's ours for the asking, ours for giving our lives to making that vision come true. That's the meaning of life. That's the spiritual life. And every one of us, until our last day on earth, is called to be part of God's global movement of disarmament and nonviolence. Thank you so much for listening to me. You've been very nonviolent.